A quickly developing story, somebody who seemed very loyal to the president, Jeff. We cannot forget what she did in front of Congress just a few weeks ago. What was it that really caused the president to fire her?
That's a spot-on question, and I'm the wrong guy to answer it. We're going to have to ask him that, and he didn't make that clear in his social media post. I do think it's fair to use the word fired, however. That's not the word he's using, but it's what it was. The Attorney General doesn't just leave that job without the president saying you're leaving that job. And so there clearly was some increased frustration on his part that she wasn't able to deliver on the things that he was asking her to do. I also think it's important to sort of put a framework around what the president sees as the Justice Department and the Attorney General and what their role is. Most presidents view it as an independent agency. President Trump did not. He viewed it essentially as his personal lawyer, and right now looks like he wants a new one.
You know, Jeff, I think so much about this president who understands, like him or not, everyone says he understands media and presentation and so on and so forth. And I do think about how so much of the administration seems camera ready. And so I do wonder how much of this is, actually her ability or what she did on the job, or is it how she presented, whether it's before committees up on Capitol Hill? I just think about that and contrast it with what we've seen perhaps of Pete Hegseth in some of those updates on the war.
Yeah, I think you're right, Carol, that he cares a lot about presentation. This is a former reality television host who has brought a lot of those same demands, skills, and sort of frameworks to the presidency. So yeah, he likes that in a cabinet official as well. That said, if you look at how Attorney General Bondi performed in Congress and the way that she bantered, if banter is even the right word, with members of Congress, it was very combative, and it was often done for the audience of one in the White House. So I'm not sure what he would criticize specifically about the way she came across, because it's seemingly the way that he expected her to come across. Maybe that's shifted, that's certainly a possibility, but the evidence doesn't show that he's looking for someone who is less combative or someone who is less willing to do his bidding or what he asks of the Justice Department. And those are things that she did. But she wasn't able to produce everything that he wanted. And you even saw at one point over the last year a sort of a direct message to her over social media when she wasn't, and that was really unusual. So we know that there was some frustration there.
Okay, so what does we talked about Todd Blanche taking over?
What about Lee Zeldin? That's a name that's been bandied about.
Right. So who do we think is going to lead it next?
Well, that's the question, and both of those are possibilities. The president certainly has a comfort level with them, clearly with Todd Blanche, who is one of his former personal attorneys, and that's going to be something that we'll be continuing to report on in the coming days. It depends, of course, on how long the president takes to make that decision. But again, I wouldn't expect a major shift at the Justice Department. There will be a new head of the DOJ, but in the same way that at DHS, after Secretary Noem's departure, the policies aren't changing. President Trump himself is not changing. What he wants out of those two cabinet agencies isn't changing. What he is getting is a new face.
How easy is it going to be for that new face to get approved?
Good question. The president still has a majority, of course, in the Senate. That's where cabinet members get confirmed. I suspect that he will probably do just fine with this. If he was looking for a new head of ICE, that might be trickier. But I don't know. I would be speculating. But as long as he continues to have Republican majorities in the Senate, which of course he will have at least through the end of this year, that's not too big of a problem.
Yeah, and I guess it was so easy for Mark Wayne Mullen, relatively speaking, to get through.
He's one of them, and that's it's usually easier to get confirmed if you are coming from Congress, and that worked in his favor.
Hey, Jeff, you're going to be able to turn the ringer off and have a quiet weekend?
Nope.